Welcome to another deep dive. We sift through the sources to pull out the key insights for you. Today, we're looking at a really fascinating ancient text, one that has some, well, surprisingly relevant things to say about how we manage our minds today. It's called the Āneñjasappāyasuttaṃ, roughly the Discourse on what is conducive to the imperturbable. And it comes from a conversation the Buddha had with his monks way back in a place called kāmā. So, why this text right now? I mean, think about our world, constant information, endless things pulling at our attention, wanting this, wanting that. How do we find any, mental stability?
It's really striking, isn't it, how this ancient wisdom speaks directly to that feeling, that struggle for clarity, the problem of attachment. This text basically offers a roadmap for understanding our desires, our perceptions, and how to move towards, well, a kind of inner freedom.
And it starts strong. The Buddha, he kicks things off telling the monks about desires, kāmā, and the words he uses are pretty intense. He calls them impermanent, empty, false, deceitful, even illusory and foolish chatter. That really gets your attention.
It does. It completely bypasses any sort of romantic idea about desire. Just lays it bare.
And he's clear, this isn't just theoretical. It's about the desires we feel right now, today, and the ones we sort of project into the future. Even just the ideas we have about desire, the perceptions, they get the same treatment.
Right. And then the text brings in this idea of Māra's domain. Māra, in this tradition, often represents delusion, attachment, the things that keep us trapped. So saying desires are Māra's domain is like saying they're the bait, or maybe the trap itself, that keeps our minds hooked.
Hooked how? What's the direct result?
Well, the text connects it directly to generating these really unwholesome states, like covetousness, wanting what others have, or ill will, or that inner sense of struggle and conflict. And it calls these things obstacles, direct barriers if you're trying to cultivate a calmer, clearer mind.
Okay, so it's not just desire is bad, end of story. It's showing this chain reaction. Desire leads to clinging, which leads to negative mind states which block our progress.
Exactly. It's mapping out that internal process, which feels very relevant,
Totally. So if that's the problem, this entanglement in desire, what does the text suggest we do? Where do we start to counteract it?
This is where we get into the paths towards what the text calls imperturbability, or Āneñjasappāyasuttaṃ. The first step for a disciple is basically shifting their whole mental focus. The first path described is about cultivating a really expansive mind. You reflect on desires as being Māra's territory, like we just discussed, and then you actively decide, you resolve to live with a mind that's expansive, elevated, seeing the bigger picture.
And zooming out.
Yeah, exactly. Like overpowering the world of small concerns, establishing yourself mentally in this broader view.
Yeah.
And the result, those negative states, the coveting, the ill will, they just cease. The mind becomes, as the text says, unrestricted, immeasurable, well cultivated.
Okay, that's one way. What else?
The second path digs into the nature of form, of physical reality itself, wupe. Here, the reflection isn't just on desire, but on all physical stuff. Realizing it's made up of the basic elements, earth, water, fire, air, and everything derived from them.
So seeing things not as solid things, but as processes.
Kind of, seeing the underlying nature, the composite nature, rather than getting caught up in the surface appearance. It helps loosen the grip of attachment to material things.
And the third path.
This one goes deeper still, focusing on impermanence. Ande. You reflect on desires and forms, present, future, all of it, and the perceptions tied to them, realizing that all of it is constantly changing, impermanent. And here's the crucial bit. What is impermanent is not to be delighted in, praised, or clung to. That's the core insight, trying to hold on to smoke.
Right. So across these three approaches, the expansive mind, understanding form, embracing impermanence, what's the common result? What happens for the person practicing this?
Consistently, the text says the mind clarifies. It becomes clear, bright, and the person either reaches the state of imperturbability right here, right now, or they gain liberation through wisdom. And significantly, after death, consciousness is said to naturally incline towards this imperturbable state. It's a fundamental shift away from being jerked around by external things.
Okay, imperturbability. But then the text moves on to something even more subtle. The sphere of nothingness, Āneñjasappāyasuttaṃ, what on earth is that?
Yeah, it's definitely a step up in abstraction. It represents a profound letting go. The first way described to reach it is through the complete cessation of perception. You reflect that everything before, desires, forms, even that sense of imperturbability itself just stops, without remainder, ceases. What's left is described as this peaceful, sublime state of Well, nothingness, awareness of emptiness.
Wow. Okay. Are there other ways in?
Yes, there's a more practical sounding approach too. Going somewhere quiet, a forest, under a tree, an empty building, and reflecting, this is empty of self, or what belongs to self, really feeling that lack of inherent me or mine in your surroundings, and by extension within yourself.
Kind of dissolving the sense of ownership and self.
Exactly. And the third path described is perhaps the most radical reflection for this sphere. It's the thought, I am not in anything, nor for anyone is there anything of mine, nor is there anything of mine in anything.
That's total non-possession, mentally letting go of everything.
It's a profound dismantling of the concepts of I and mine.
So, for reaching this sphere of nothingness, what's the outcome? Similar to before?
Very similar, yes. The mind clarifies. You attain the sphere of nothingness now, or are released by wisdom, and consciousness goes there after death. But it does make you wonder, right? If you let go of so much, what is actually being liberated? What remains?
Good question. And it doesn't stop there. The sutta goes even further, to the sphere of neither perception nor non-perception.
Āneñjasappāyasuttaṃ. How do you even wrap your head around that?
It's described as the most refined, the most subtle state. The path there is singular in this text. You reflect that all previous perceptions, desire, form, imperturbability, even the perception of nothingness, all of it ceases without remainder. It leads to a state so subtle, the words perception and non-perception don't really apply anymore. It's beyond those categories.
And the outcome, let me guess.
You got it. Mind clarifies, attain it now, or through wisdom, consciousness goes there after death. The pattern holds. Okay, so we've climbed this ladder of increasingly subtle states of mind. Incredible. But then the text throws a curveball, right? Ananda, the Buddha's attendant, asks a really important question. He basically says, okay, if a monk practices letting go completely, I am not, nothing is mine, I abandon what arises, and they reach this super high state of equanimity, do they achieve nibbana? Full liberation. Sounds like they should, right?
It really does sound like the pinnacle. But the Buddha's answer is, well, surprising. He says some do, some don't.
Wait, what? Some don't. After all that, why not?
This is the absolute key point of the sutta, I think. It depends on how they relate to that state of equanimity, even that highest sphere. If they delight in it, praise it, and cling to it, āneñjasappāyasuttaṃ, then their consciousness is still dependent. They're still grasping, still clinging, sapadana. In fact, the text calls that highest sphere, if clung to, the highest clinging. Even spiritual states can become objects of attachment.
Well, so it's not enough just to get to these amazing states. You can still get stuck there if you become attached to the state itself.
Precisely. It's not the destination alone, but the attitude towards it.
So how do you achieve nibbana then?
The crucial difference is non-clinging, anupadana. If the practitioner does not delight in, praise, or cling to that state of equanimity, their consciousness isn't dependent, it's free. That leads to nibbana. The text talks about crossing the flood of suffering, by relying on these states as supports, as tools, but not holding on to them once you've crossed.
Like the raft analogy. You use the raft to cross the river, you don't carry it on land.
Exactly that. You use the attainment, but you don't make it your new identity or possession.
So this leads to the final definition then. Noble liberation. What is that, according to the text?
The noble disciple looks back at everything discussed, all the perceptions, from desire right up to that highest sphere of neither perception nor non-perception, and understands this is self-identity as far as self-identity extends. It's seeing that even the most subtle sense of I or awareness is still part of the constructed world, still sakkaya.
Seeing the limits of self.
Yes. And then comes the ultimate insight. This is the deathless samatha, namely the liberation of the mind through non-clinging, anuttached vimokko. That freedom from grasping, that's the noble liberation. Letting go of the very mechanism of clinging itself.
Letting go of the idea of a permanent self, and letting go of clinging to any state, no matter how refined. That's profound. What was the Buddha's final word to the monks? How did he tell them to, get on with it?
It was very direct, very practical. He tells Ananda, these tree roots, these empty houses are for you. Meditate, do not be heedless, do not regret it later. This is our instruction to you.
A clear call to action. Don't just think about it, do it.
Yes, engage with the practice now.
What a journey. From the nature of desire through these incredibly subtle states all the way to this core principle. Non-clinging is the key, even to the highest achievements. It really reframes the whole path.
It absolutely does. And it leaves us, and you listening, with a really potent question, I think. In your own life right now, what might you be unknowingly clinging to? Could be ideas, goals, possessions, status, Maybe even certain feelings or states of mind you like.
Things that feel good or feel right, but might actually be holding you back from a deeper sense of, well, peace or freedom.
Exactly. What happens if you start to apply that principle of non-clinging, just gently noticing the grasping, even in everyday things?
This is something to think about. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.